Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Cambridge University Press, and it's an important book, and then actually it's one that got my interest when I looked at it. It's called Constitutional Courts in Asia, a Comparative Perspective. So it's a comparative law publication, but one of, I think, great interest to anybody who's got a wider keenness to know how different jurisdictions operate. It's been written by two people, Albert H.Y. Chen and Andrew Harding, and it's part of the CUP's series on comparative constitutional law and policy. Elizabeth was the lead writer on this one, and we came up with this title for our review. Quote, a global phenomenon, constitutional courts in South and Southeast Asia are placed under scrutiny in this absorbing comparative study. And that's exactly what you're getting. Let's have a look at the book quickly. There it is. Front of the book there. It's a hardback. There's the spine, and then there's the back. It's a bit difficult to read some of this stuff because of the inverted colours and so forth. However, the back of the book is the index, and it's by page numbering. The pages, 380 odd in total. It's quite a substantial index too. You can see there. There's the index itself, and then at the back we've got the actual right at the back. You can see there's paragraph numbering at the bottom. Useful conclusions to many of the chapters as well. If we go to the front of the book, let me show you. That's actually the title page. What we've got just before then is the whole group of publications in this series. You can see them there and there, and obviously it covers a very wide area of knowledge, and therefore depending on what you're looking for. There's the CUP data there, then you've got the contents section. You see the contents running through each because this is an edited volume. Each chapter is written by a particular person. There are 14 chapters in total, and then there's an index, and then you've got some figures, some information, data as well. Then there are some tables, and then there's the detail about the contributors. I can't mention them all by name, but you can see a lot of them are very, very much experts in their own fields, of course, in this area. There we go. Then there's a preface, which is well worth reading, and that's by the two editors, and then you go straight into the book. And then this is chapter 1, and then you've got the name, the detail of the person and the information there. Then of course the actual body copy. There is quite substantial footnoting throughout the work as well. Now, what do we say about this book? Well, we say this. As one of the latest titles from the Constitutional Law and Policy series, published by Cambridge University Press, this book shines the light of analysis on constitutional courts in South and Southeast Asia. There are 7 of them covered: Taiwan, South Korea, Mongolia, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia and Myanmar. And in the interests of providing further comparative perspectives, attention is drawn to certain East Asian countries which don't have a constitutional court, namely Japan, Philippines, China and Viet Nam. And by now you're probably or possibly thinking that anyone involved in foreign policy or in any aspect of global geopolitical matters should have a read of this book, and absolutely so, because it's a very interesting, as we're becoming more global, it's a very interesting area to look at and see how these particular jurisdictions are developing. And the editors, Chen and Harding, come from universities of Hong Kong and the National University of Singapore. And they brought together in this volume the work of a distinguished international team of scholars, all of whom have contributed essays on specified and specific aspects of the subject, mainly based on conference papers delivered and presented at the 6th Asian Constitutional Law Forum, which was at the NUS, that's in Singapore. It's important to read the biographical details to see the wealth of knowledge that they've built up, and it's actually overwhelmingly impressive in our views. Now, commenting on the significance of the book, the Professor of Law, Alec Stone-Sweet, from NUS, refers to one of the key questions which have animated this project, and that is, why have some constitutional courts succeeded in transforming their political environments while others have failed? And that's, of course, the leading question to be reviewed. The title of the book's first chapter comes from Chen and its Constitutional Courts in Asia, Western Origins and Asian Practice. Of course, we do get a look in, of course, because of the nature of the way the common law has been exported across the planet. And it's perhaps indicative from this chapter of the way the book is going, because Chen goes on to point out that in these early decades of the 21st century, constitutional courts exist and operate in all corners of the world. He says they are a global phenomenon, adding that deserves scholarly investigation from legal, doctrinal, theoretical and comparative perspectives. And that's what you get. And here then, as Elizabeth and I say, is an erudite and informative comparative study which illuminates certain contemporary issues raised by the differences and the similarities between these more than 7 constitutional courts under scrutiny. Of course, the jurisdictions themselves are all very much their own grouping, but it's important to see how they operate. And for practitioners as well as scholars in comparative law, we think that the book also functions as a convenient source of references via the copious footnotes, and there are very substantial ones, and for those undertaking detailed research in this area of study. Of course, the information and the insights therein will certainly make a valuable contribution to the ongoing debate worldwide on the formidably wide range of issues pertaining to constitutional reform. And the book was published on the 20th of September 2018. Now let's just have one look at the book again. There it is. It's a hardback, as I say. There's the spine, then the back. You can't really see the quotes, but they're very substantial quotes. This is a heavyweight academic book, putting it bluntly, but there's a lot in it which I think will be of interest to anybody in these jurisdictions. You can see what I mean by the footnotes. They're quite substantial. But the copy, when you read it, the actual content, it's quite heavy, actually, quite heavy text. But there's a lot in it, and I think there's a great deal that one can get from this book. So a big thank you to all the people who've contributed to this work. It's an excellent book from Cambridge, and we're very grateful to be able to review it. So thank you to all concerned who have been involved in its publication. Bye-bye.